You want to know the one habit that truly separates professional traders from everybody else? I'll tell you right now, it's not some secret indicator or a magic formula. Nope. It's having a disciplined system for learning from every single trade you make. So today, we are opening up the post-trade playbook. So let me ask you this, and be honest with yourself. Think about your last 10 trades. Whether you won or lost, did you learn something specific, something actionable from each one? Or did you just close the trade, feel that rush of a win or the sting of a loss, and then immediately start hunting for the next setup? It's a really crucial distinction. And that brings us to the fundamental truth of all of this. The real edge in trading, the thing that lasts, it isn't found in some magical strategy you buy online. No way. It's built piece by piece through the disciplined process of reviewing every single action you take. That's it. That's how you turn your experience into actual expertise. And this right here, this explains why so many traders get stuck spinning their wheels, never getting consistent. It's almost never because their strategy is broken. It's because their feedback loop is broken. They're trapped just repeating the same unexamined mistakes over and over. Well, the review process, that's the tool we use to fix that loop for good. It really boils down to two completely different mindsets. On one side, you have the amateur reactor. They are glued to their profit and loss statement, just riding this emotional roller coaster all day. But on the other side, you have the professional analyst. They are obsessed with their process. They learn from data. And for them, profit is just the natural result of a good process. So, which column are you in right now? All right, let's get into the practical stuff. The very first actionable step is what happens the second a trade closes. We'll call it the immediate review. You can think of it like a micro view, something you do right away while the memory, the emotions, the whole market context, it's all still perfectly fresh in your mind. And we can break this down into a super simple 5-step checklist. This becomes your mental reset after every single trade. You're going to document what happened, analyze how you executed it, assess what you were feeling, check if your original idea was even valid, and then, this is the most important part, identify one single specific lesson. So, the foundation of this whole thing is being objective. First, you have to document every little detail. Your entry, your exit, why you even took the trade. This stops your brain from playing tricks on you later, what we call hindsight bias. Next, you look at your execution. Did you get bad slippage? Did you use the wrong order type? Stuff that can turn a great idea into a loser. And finally, you check your premise. This helps you answer the big question, was my idea just wrong, or was the outcome just random? Now, that's one half of the coin. The other half is all about your mindset. You've got to be brutally honest with yourself here. Log whether you felt fear or greed or that dreaded FOMO, the fear of missing out. This is how you build the self-awareness to stop those feelings from driving your decisions. And then you boil it all down to one single takeaway. This guarantees that every single trade, win or lose, makes you a smarter trader for the next one. Okay, so that's the daily habit, the trade-by-trade review. Now, let's zoom out. The bigger picture review is something you do maybe weekly or monthly. This is where you step back and look at the whole forest, not just the individual trees. This is where you find the real patterns and discover what your true edge actually is. And to do that, we have to speak the language of data. These are just some of the key metrics that tell the real story of your performance. And it goes way beyond just your account balance. Things like your profit factor and expectancy. These give you a totally unbiased picture of whether your strategy actually works over time. And that brings us to one of the most powerful concepts in all of trading. Look at this. You can actually have a win rate below 50% and still be wildly profitable, but only if your average winning trade is way bigger than your average losing trade. Seriously, this one ratio is often so much more important than just your win rate alone. So what do you do with all this data? Well, you become a detective. You start hunting for patterns. Does your strategy crush it in trending markets but get chopped up when things are quiet? Do you always seem to make the same mistake on a Monday morning? This data lets you form a hypothesis, make a small, targeted change, and systematically make your edge even sharper. Now, I know that was a lot of detail, so let's just distill it all down into a really simple but powerful framework you can use for every single trade. Let's call it the 3M framework: mark, measure, and master. First up is mark, and honestly, for a lot of traders, this is a total game changer. After a trade, you give yourself a score from 1 to 10, but here's the absolute key. The score is based only on how well you followed your plan, not on whether you made or lost money. This is how you finally separate your process from the outcome.
Now, this is a concept that might just break your brain a little, but it's so important. You can have a winning trade where you broke all your rules, got totally lucky. Guess what? That's a low mark, maybe a 3 out of 10. That was a bad trade. But on the flip side, you can have a losing trade where you followed your plan to the absolute letter. That is a perfect 10 out of 10 trade. You have to remember this. A perfectly executed loss is 1,000 times more valuable for your long-term growth than a sloppy win.
Okay, next is measure. With this step, we stop thinking in dollars because dollars are emotional. We start thinking in R, which just stands for your risk unit. So R is simply the amount of money you decide to risk on one trade. If you risk $100, then hitting your stop loss is a -1 R loss. If you make $300, that's a +3 R win. See? This simple shift standardizes everything and gives you a true objective way to measure your strategy's edge. And finally, we have master. Based on your mark and your measure, you identify one thing, just one specific thing to improve on your very next trade. I'm not talking about 10 things, just one. Maybe it's, I will wait for the candle to close before entering, or I will not move my stop loss, period. Real mastery comes from this kind of focused, deliberate practice. So let's bring this all home. By adopting this system of review, the immediate check-in, the bigger picture analysis, and that simple 3M framework, you completely shift your focus. You stop chasing profits and you start mastering your process. And that's really the core philosophy behind all of this. We can't predict the future, right? Nobody can predict what the market's going to do next, but we can control our actions. We can control our discipline. We can absolutely master our process. And a masterful process over time is what leads to profitable results. So I'm going to leave you with this one question. Based on everything we just talked about, what is the one specific improvement you are going to commit to making on your very next trade? Don't just think about it. Define it right now. Because that is your very first step on the path to mastery.